Today we're going to start with the Trump account. Um, Today's article is How Trump Accounts Could Impact Your Child's Student Aid by Ivana Pino on Yahoo Finance. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert right at the beginning and to say we don't know yet. To give a little bit of background, the Trump accounts, also known as the IRA for Children, give children a head start on the American dream. They're tax advantage investment accounts, and depending on when a child is born, you can get a $1,000 one-time contribution from the federal government. And then when your child turns 18, the money can be used for education, home purchase, or other qualified expenses. The one thing that a lot of people don't think about are how these different accounts can affect a child's ability to get student aid, namely grants. That's the important one. Again, the spoiler is that we don't know yet how these are potentially going to impact student aid for children. Let's see here. They go over Trump accounts explained, but the potential growth within the article is talked about within the article. The accounts are technically owned by the child, but managed by a parent or custodian. What they could potentially grow to if no contributions or maximum contributions are made. So this is the most important part here. The Department of Education hasn't released any official information as to how Trump accounts will factor into need-based aid. Those are the grants. So when you fill out what's known as the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, you put things about your assets and income into the FAFSA. So these accounts will likely factor in. But again, they haven't announced exactly how it will. So student assets, income, living expenses to determine how much they could contribute towards college costs. There are experts that argue Trump accounts could create a hurdle for students in the future by potentially reducing the amount of aid they qualified for if these accounts are treated as student assets, which are assessed at a higher rate than parent assets. So when we look here, a 529, as it states here, is given and assessed at a more favorable maximum rate of 5.64%. But other accounts can be 20 cents on the dollar. And my understanding is that Trump accounts will be an asset of the student, which can reduce aid by as much as 20 cents on every dollar. Once money is withdrawn from the account, that can count as income to the student, which can reduce aid by as much as 50 cents on the dollar. So these are the potentials. The thing is, we don't know, right? So the other concern that you have here is if you are not helping a child, your child, grandchild, whatever it is, towards their financial future based on potential federal grants that are available to you, is that really worth it? So let's just say you lose $5 to $6,000 in grants for your child or grandchild, but you have saved significantly more than that for the child. Is that really worth it? You're essentially being able to fund what would have been grant money for that child. So these are the things that you have to think about. So is a Trump account the right move for your child? The $1,000 injection into Trump accounts for those who qualify is a big bonus and can certainly make a difference for many families. But there are other account options available that could prove to be more beneficial long-term if your goal is to fund higher education. For example, 529 plans may not offer the $1,000 seed money, but they offer tax-free withdrawals for qualified education expenses and higher annual contribution limits. When choosing a savings vehicle for higher education, it's important to consider how the account you choose will grow with your child, contribution caps, tax implications, and financial aid implications to determine if it's the right fit for your financial plan. The general advice is that if a family has a newborn and can get $1,000 starter deposit, that's worth doing. And I agree, it's free money. Why not? I will be forthright here. We have not started the account for our newest child who does qualify, and our 3 previous children do not qualify for the $1,000 starter money. Whether the family should continue to save in that account is a different question entirely. If a family anticipates need-based federal aid and they aren't going to get the initial deposit bonus, then there may be better options than a Trump account. That's true, but uh, like a lot of the time, accounts in the parent's name do better than accounts in the child's name for how they are assessed in needs based financial aid. So you do have to pay attention to this and think about it. Now, to be straight, if you don't have a lot of money in these accounts, they're probably not going to drastically affect need based financial aid, right? So we're kind of talking about both sides here because if you are able to fund these accounts with a lot of money, you probably weren't going to need federal grants anyway. And if you're unable to fund these accounts with much, you're probably going to need, or you might need federal aid. So, right, this is sort of the creating an issue where there might not be one. If you don't have a lot of money, you're probably not able to fund these accounts, and you might qualify for federal grants. If you have a lot of money and you're able to fund these accounts, you probably weren't going to qualify for federal grants anyway. So just things to think about here. And in one of last week's videos, I did cover the Trump account in a little bit deeper. But if you have questions and you want to talk about how these accounts can factor into your child's overall future or their education planning, reach out and let's have a conversation. Our conversation could end up helping out countless other people.